Picture this: 3 library staff members trapped inside the South Charleston Public Library. Aaron, Toby, and Josh, each with divergent tastes, tasked with watching each other's films. Can they survive with their sanity intact? Find out on Real Opposites, a library podcast about movies.
I work at the South Charleston Public Library on 4th Avenue. I believe in taking care of myself and a balanced and rigorous daily film viewing routine. In the morning, if my face is a little puffy, I'll put in an ice pack while watching American Psycho. I can watch it 4 times in a row now. After I remove the ice pack, I use a deep pore cleanser lotion while I listen to the audiobook version of the American Psycho novel. Then I apply a herb mint facial mask, which I leave on for 10 minutes while I ponder the prose of Bret Easton Ellis's novel. There is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand, and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I am simply not there. Because I need to watch American Psycho again.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Real Opposites. I'm Aaron.
I'm Josh.
I'm Toby.
And we are back this time around to discuss Josh's pick, American Psycho. And it was from, what year was it?
2000.
2000. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about why you chose this.
Well, why I chose the movie is because I feel like this is a foolproof one for you.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to imagine you not enjoying this to some degree, and it would be a lot of fun to talk about. And I love the movie.
That's a good one.
Because it works on so many levels. You know, it's a horror movie, it's a thriller, it's a comedy, it's a drama. It's like everything. It's a biting satire of 80s, but really nothing's really changed very much, so it's still the 80s.
Yeah.
We're just living in a dream of the 80s at this point. And Christian Bale's performance is one of my all-time favorites.
It's amazing. God, it's so fun.
Yeah. He's like, so I'm also reading the book. I'm listening to the book. I'm like halfway through the book for the book and film club that we're also doing here at the library. And what you get in the book is that Bale really latches onto is that there's an inherent dorkiness to Bateman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's in the book that I think. So there was a lot of other iterations of this that were going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
David Cronenberg was going to make a version. And I think everyone from like Keanu Reeves, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio was like they were courting him post Titanic, and his agent was like, "If you do this is suicide. You have nothing but teenage girl fans right now."
Right.
So he dropped out, and they had actually cast Christian Bale, and then they were like, "We're going to try to get Leo," and so they tried to get Leo, and that immediately bumped the budget up, which meant at one point Oliver Stone was going to make the movie.
Mm.
And him and Leo, like Oliver Stone and Leo, that was like a package deal. And Stone had actually cast a few of the cast members, including Chloe Sevigny, who Mary Herron eventually cast anyway. She liked her. And all the time, Mary Herron was the one who had cast Christian Bale. It was just this weird, just how movies get made story. But I feel like a lot of the other people that they were considering for Patrick Bateman, like Bale just is perfect, like born to play the role.
Yeah.
Like I said, that dorkiness is just like the way he talks, and I think maybe it's because he's British or Welsh. I think he's like over enunciating everything. Everything is reading in this like monotone kind of like he's impersonating what he thinks cool is.
Right.
Because in the book they talk about like his brother too, and like he's trying to be as cool as his brother, if I remember correctly. So anyway, it's just a bravo performance, and the movie it's hilarious, and I can watch it anytime. I've watched it like 3 times in the last week.
Yeah.
It's like I can't quite stop watching it. And reading the book. There's a funny little bit in the book where he's obsessed with Body Double, which I'm kind of obsessed with Body Double, and it
Right.
makes me question things.
Well, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. Listen, Patrick
Am
Bateman
I a
doesn't
serial
have
killer?
bad taste. Like
No, the whole question of taste is
Yeah, it's not
yeah.
that, but sometimes you just have to listen. I've questioned whether I'm a serial killer multiple times, so I get it.
well, yeah. I mean, it's like
Needless to say, I have not killed anybody though,
yeah, that we know of. And
that we know of.
or that I know
To
of.
be fair, we're not sure that Patrick Bateman knows he killed people or
yeah,
not.
that's brilliant. Like, how much do we know?
That is true.
Like-
And I also once took Ambien, so
Like the lies we tell ourselves. Like what would we
Right.
really do? The things we imagine.
yeah.
Right. And how much is imagined? How much is like what part is him
Real.
being psycho? Like,
Yeah,
this movie's
it's
so
real.
nebulous. It's so fun in that way.
Yeah, because you don't know who did he kill anybody? Did he
Right.
kill all of them? Is it really happening? I think by the point where you get to the ATM is telling him to feed it a stray cat. Like okay, well, and then he shoots a
That's
car and it just blows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what?
Yeah, I like that they put that in there.
Yeah.
Killed like a lot of people.
The
I
movie.
also thought the chainsaw was ridiculous.
Oh, so fun. Totally nude,
Well-
chasing a girl with a chainsaw and
Yeah.
throwing it from the second story. It just happens to hit her.
Yeah. I mean,
And nobody noticed.
Like it doesn't make sense logistically.
Nobody came out their door to be like, "Why is there a chainsaw in the
I
hallway?"
think like a lot of the fantasies are there. Like if you notice, like earlier on, he's watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
right.
And there's little hints that like these are, figments of his imagination.
Yeah.
Which in the book, like in the movie, in the book, like it can kind of go
Either
both
way.
ways. Like you could imagine, like maybe he did kill a couple people.
Yeah.
One thing I like to think of is so the big giveaway is like when he goes to the apartment at the end. I'm sorry, we're just jumping
Yes.
straight to like
Straight to
spoilers
the
in
end.
the
No
end.
Yeah.
If you didn't watch the movie, it's your fault.
Uh-huh.
So like when he gets to the end and like after he's killed all these people,
Mhm.
gone on his rampage, and he goes back to the apartment where he had all the bodies
Right.
hidden, and it's like, wait, this apartment's up for sale, and like the realtor's there.
Yeah, but that interaction's so
Yeah.
weird that it
Right.
like, almost makes it.
It
like,
is,
nebulous.
and it's like
Yeah.
it's like she knows something.
It's almost like
So
she
it's like-
knows.
That's another little bit of the satire is like, did she just get rid of the bodies so she could sell the
Oh, this
apartment?
Yeah, exactly.
Or was it imagined and she's just reacting to a random man being there?
Right.
Yeah. So
Like, so it is very ambiguous.
yeah. The only thing that kind of gives it away is the end. Like it's a little bit too blatant, and Mary Herron, the director, wishes she had not made it
I read about
quite
that.
so like on the nose that it was
Yeah.
maybe all imagined. But
Because the book
I-
is ambiguous as well.
yeah, it's very ambiguous. And in the book, like the book is unfilmable, just as
Yeah.
it is. Like
Yeah.
for one thing, nobody's gonna watch any of that aside
Yeah.
from people that are Patrick Bateman. And
So maybe me.
no, trust no. Every terrible thing you can possibly imagine to do
Is
to
in
a
that.
human body
It's in that book.
is in the book.
Okay.
Books are a lot more, usually a lot more grotesque. And
Well,
gory
yeah.
than, like,
Yeah.
the
They can
movies
be.
Can be
And like for a movie that's like so controversial for its violence, it's very tame.
yeah.
Like most of the violence occurs off screen. Like when he kills
Right,
Paul Allen,
yeah.
you don't see anything happening. A lot
Right.
of this, I mean, it's intentional, but a lot of it is because it was a very low budget movie. Because once Leo left, the budget dropped to like half.
All I have in my head is the image of him being like, "Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is." And he starts like dancing, and then like,
Oh yeah.
Man,
Yeah, I
the,
like
the,
that.
the glee in his eyes when he's ready to kill Paul Allen is
Yeah.
just it's a perfect performance. It's one of the top
It is,
performances
yeah.
ever. So anyway, I've kind of rambled on. So what did you think overall? I know you've wanted to watch this movie for a while.
Yeah, so it's something I've been wanting to watch, and I do want to read the book as well. Speaking of which, did you say you were listening to it?
I bought it on Audible.
Oh, okay.
It's
Audible.
not on Libby or anything.
I just renewed Audible for like $1 for 3 months, so I'm gonna
Awesome.
I'll
Yeah.
get that.
do it that way.
Grab it.
Um,
It's a very good reading. Like the guy reading it does like a great job with like voices and impersonations and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I definitely want.
And he kind of, I don't know. I'm guessing it's post movie, so he almost has the same kind of monotone reading that,
Right.
Christian
Kinda
Bale
brought
does.
it in.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised by how it didn't pull me in as much as I thought it was going to.
Hmm.
I just figured I'd be like hooked from the beginning. I do think it's another one of those that there's a lot going on, and sometimes it takes time for that to all settle in your head. But I I liked it. I definitely liked it, and there were a lot of funny parts. There was a lot of in the character's head and very ambiguous stuff. You were like, is this happening? Is it not? So I really enjoyed it. I do think it's one that I have to watch again.
Yeah.
Not just one like I might watch again one day, but I
You
have
need to watch it again.
I was actually going to try to before the podcast, but I didn't get to. Just because I think seeing it once doesn't do it justice.
Yeah.
I think it is something, unless you are captivated and pulled in the first time completely, I think it needs a second watch because it deserves a second watch.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, and
There's
that's
a lot of
what
different.
it is.
There's a lot of different levels to enjoy the movie.
Right.
And
I think that's why, for me, like I said, I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy it, and I really want to read the book and maybe even follow the movie up after I read the book again.
Like, I hadn't seen this one I haven't seen this one since college, so I hadn't seen it in almost 10 years, and I forgot how awesome it is, and I forgot a lot of what happens. And so even watching the beginning where it's like he's with all of his friends and they're saying some seriously anti-Semitic stuff, and he's like, don't say those things, and then less than 5 minutes later he's at the bar and she tells him he can't have something or something, and then he just goes off about how he's going to you're such a ugly bitch and I'm gonna stab you and kill you. It was this whole, and you're just like, oh, okay, is he saying that out loud or not? Because
Right.
his friends are like, oh, he's the boy next door, he's the the Boy Scout out of all of us, and it's so how much of this visceral awful things that he's thinking is actually being
Right.
it's being said. It's fun.
So, fun fact that woman is actually Mary Herron, the bartender, Mary Herron's sister, who she
Oh,
cast
okay.
in that role.
Oh,
So,
fun.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
But I like
funny.
so in the book he's much more openly racist, homophobic.
Yeah.
It's just they're all terrible, but he's really terrible
Yeah.
in the book, and they kind of had to. That's one thing they really had to kind of tone down in the movie.
Yeah.
But
feel
even still, he's still,
he's still terrible, but
he's
I
still
feel like if you're a serial killer, if you're that guy and you're getting away with it, you're not terrible out loud.
yeah, no.
Right.
You can't be.
Yeah.
You let the mask slip right before you murder someone. And Christian Bale's so believable as a serial killer because
Yeah.
of course you go home with him. Of
Yeah.
course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course you you want it not when you can hear what I assume is actually his internal monologue out
Mhm.
loud, but when he's being the affable businessman, then of course you're yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever.
I think he also was able to capture and show really well on film the whole serial killer trying to fit into a mold
Mhm.
of society, or anyone trying to fit into a mold of society. Because you see all the business people, how they're exactly the same, their business cards are the same,
Yeah.
everything's the same, and then you have him trying to fit in, and I think that goes beyond just being a serial killer. I think it's a little bit of play on society.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
one of the big jokes in the book and the movie is nobody can tell each other apart.
Right.
They all have the same
Exactly.
haircut. They all wear the same suit,
Yeah,
And
and
glasses.
they keep confusing
each other.
each other.
Yes.
His lawyer is calling him a
Davis.
different name at the end of the
Right.
movie, and is he Paul Allen or is he
Yeah.
There's
And I did like that, and it just captures well the fact that he's a serial killer trying to fit in, and you kind of see that through his thoughts and stuff as well,
yeah.
Well,
and just him trying to do this killing, if that's what he's doing, and then be normal during the day.
Yeah.
And real serial killers obviously have something going on wrong in their brain, and you see a lot of them that are not adept at talking in public or to
Yeah.
people. They're very sheltered or they're outlandish, but still very sheltered in a way.
Yeah.
And I think that part was really cool to see on TV, or on TV.
On the movie.
It was really neat to see it on the movie because
Well,
I think it was done
this
well.
movie is all about like the male gaze,
Right.
with the Z. But also, and the other way, like when we talked about this in my women's and gender studies class, one of the main things we talked about is that this is a guy who is so obsessed with what he has to be to like fit in that it makes him a psycho.
Yeah, I mean, if you try
it
to
breaks him. He's tried to like divest so much of himself from himself that like that's why like he goes to murder Lewis, I think is the guy's name. And then Lewis turns around and is like, very into like, into him like romantically.
Right.
And the Patrick Bateman we've seen the rest of the time would have just stabbed him and killed him.
Yeah.
But instead, when faced with that, he gets so scared he runs away.
Yeah,
And so there's a lot of like subtext there about him potentially being closeted as well as
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot that's much more explicit in the book.
Right,
Like
yeah.
there's a lot of references to that, and also the AIDS scare at the time, and like that there's a lot of closeted homosexuality that he's not sure that Lewis, like he may have had a relationship with, I think, or Bryce, who, I mean, they have bigger roles in the book, but he kind of disappears for a while and then shows up, and it never explicitly says, but he may have HIV or AIDS.
Oh, okay.
And so like I don't know, there's that's more explicit in the book for sure.
Maybe, yeah, they do talk about AIDS a bit in the movie.
Yeah, there's a couple mentions of it. I like that. Like this is like almost like the serial killer prequel film.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like he spent so much time trying to live up to like what society tells you that you need to be happy,
Right.
and then that makes him insane.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like he imagines all these killings, but I like to think at the end, then he goes and becomes an actual.
Right.
He actually acts on these impulses.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying is I feel like you really feel that him trying to fit into society.
Yeah.
As a serial killer and as a person.
Well, the whole movie,
And-
like, I'm like, he's a really bad serial killer. How has he not got, like, he's like leaving a blood trail through the lobby. He's
Yeah.
like-
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
when some of this has to be fake. Like I said, chainsaw running down, there's other condos or apartments there. Nobody's looking out. Like a chainsaw in the middle of the hallway is normal.
Yeah.
Oh, and a girl screaming for her life.
Yes.
I mean,
So-
there's more explicit ones in the book, like where he just kills people in broad daylight. It's one of the interesting facts about the movie. I mean, it's directed by a woman, which is rare in like a horror movie to begin with.
Right.
And like this book in particular, because it's such a, I mean, on the surface, like you just read it, you read the text. If you don't take it in the context, and it's like, this is the most misogynistic book ever written. That everyone is deplorable and terrible, and let's get a woman to direct it.
Yeah.
Her sensibilities are so perfect for adapting that book. Because, I mean, originally I think Scorsese was going to direct it. Like I said, Cronenberg, Oliver Stone was pretty close to directing it. The benefit you get from having Mary Herron direct it is that it's not obsessed with like the violence,
Right.
the impact of the violence on Bateman or the humor that you find in it. It's everything surrounding that, because the book is super explicit about everything, the sex and the violence, which will make an interesting book club for people that read it.
Yeah.
This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and
Well-
you know how I am about nudity in movies and things like that, but I feel like even the sex scenes in this are needed. It
They're so
further
weird.
goes into his trying to fit in and his just the sanity that he
And his like
insanity.
self-obsession, like his
And his
narcissism.
self-obsession.
Yeah, he's having
And-
sex with these two women, and he can't help
He's
just
like,
looking himself in
staring
the
at
mirror.
in the mirror
like,
and like flexing.
flex-
Which also goes
And-
back to the closeted.
Yeah, and it's
possibilities.
so exactly, like he's not looking at them.
Right.
He just knows. Oh well, men in my mind, men want to have threesomes with two
Right.
girls. Like that is what's in his head for like what's supposed to
Yeah,
happen.
at first he's like, you just dance a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like in a sexy way. He just wants her to dance.
He's like,
Yeah.
I feel
It,
like this
it's
is what you should be
right.
doing. It's not, yeah. And then his immediate reaction after whatever experience they have, which looks aggressively mediocre, then his immediate thing is to be so disgusted with being next to these two women
Right.
that he then hurts them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He stands up out of bed like a robot, jumps over the girl, and then like gets into his like tool bag.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I think that that's one of the things. I'm sure that is in the book, but I think that the director did a good job of picking scenes that really get into like who is Patrick Bateman. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I think without her, you don't get the opening. Like, I don't think another director would have done the long extended.
Routine.
Christian Bale does not wear a shirt for like 15 minutes at the beginning.
No, I mean a lot of that's in the book.
Yeah.
The book is like half of the book is
Yeah.
like his routines
Yeah.
and endlessly like quoting like what people are wearing, what they're eating, how much this cost.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Vanity, the book
Yeah.
by Bret Easton Ellis.
Well,
Uh,
I think that also
Right.
is to pull you into maybe how he thinks as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
it's
he's also like pulling in these data. He's taking data in constantly.
Right.
yeah, I mean he's like a robot.
Right.
You know, like he's just trying. He's like it's like an alien trying to assimilate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like
Right. Exactly.
He
it's
even
the
says,
version
like,
of Superman that just got rich
Yeah.
and like wanted to be Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He even says like
They mentioned Donald Trump like a lot in the book.
and they mentioned
yeah.
Ivana in the
Yeah,
movie,
in
but
the movie, yeah.
At one point, like his like I don't know his he even says like there's nothing there. Like when it
Yeah,
comes to emotion, there's
Right.
nothing there.
You
Like,
can-
he's an empty thing staring
Mhm.
out.
you can shake my hand. You can see me. We can talk, but there is nothing there. There's nothing behind this cold stare.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know. That's
It's powerful.
it's very poignant. I think. I mean, and that's like, and for such a despicable person, I do feel empathy for him, which is
Mhm.
weird.
Yeah.
Because I think we're all a little Patrick Bateman, which is weird.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Maybe.
I mean, yes, I agree.
I mean, he
it's
fantasizes about killing someone, and I think like
Everyone's done that.
everyone has done that, right? Like, I mean, that feels like a weird thing to admit, but like everyone has. I mean,
I can't imagine somebody hasn't.
They're pretty
Yeah.
with his. They're innocent people, and I feel like your
Mhm.
average person does not fantasize about killing
Innocence. Right.
innocents.
Yeah.
But in like, I think everyone has like. There are things about him that are relatable, like
Yeah. And so much as like what society is expecting from you and how you react to
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
and like how, it's almost like it's a test. Like he's trying to see if he can do this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because I think if I remember, and I don't know if I've gotten to that part in the book. I read it years ago, and I'm reading it again.
Mhm.
But he has more humble origins.
right.
Mhm.
Like they kind of try to give him more of a. Bret Easton Ellis tries to give him a little bit more, maybe a backstory, just hint at it, like not like a full like chapter. And then I was
Right.
born in blah, 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 in Arkansas or whatever.
Just kind of sprinkle it in.
Yeah, and I like that in the movie, like you're just kind of dropped in
Yeah.
the movie to
Well, in the movie, his dad is part of the company,
yeah.
like is what Evelyn says at one point.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
probably my favorite like moment is when he invites Jean, his secretary,
Mhm.
over, but you assume he's going to kill her, and
He
he was going to kill her, but she's so like genuinely interested in him, not because of his clothes or his looks or his
Mhm.
hair or his money, but just like she sees something in him,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and he can't deal with that because
No.
if he knows like every other woman he's with, or like Reese with Evelyn and everyone else that he's with is just a consumer vacuum,
Just
like
as
they're
empty
they're-
as he is. And
yes,
Yeah.
just
yeah.
as vain as he is, and when confronted with like genuine human interaction,
Yeah.
someone actually asking you questions like about you
Mhm.
personally,
Mhm.
not like when are we going to get reservations or stuff like
Right.
that. He can't do it. And the way Bale, like he's got the nail gun up to her head, and he just can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just sets it down and sits on the couch next to her, and you can see like that's amazing acting for such a kind of manic performance. The way he reels that in and makes that moment real. Like he can't. There's so much going on there where he can't figure out how to react.
You can see him working it over. Like, why can't I do that? Like, what am I? Because he has said he is devoid of emotion.
Yeah.
And it's like he's experiencing a single moment of empathy for like the first time in his life, where he's like, oh, well, okay, like this is what real feelings, and that like directly precedes. Like basically him totally losing it.
Yeah, I mean that's really like the moment where it all starts crumbling.
Yes,
and his imagination just goes wild. His fantasies, like they're not just like killing hookers or
feeding
homeless people. Yeah, it goes to like explosions, like shooting cars and they explode.
Crazy.
I love that feed me a stray cat from the ATM. It's so funny. It always gets me.
The woman's like, you can't stop doing that.
What are you doing?
He just shoots her.
Feed me a straight, but like also like that is the first moment you're like, oh, okay, like this is some kind of solid proof. This is like some kind of like schizophrenia or like this is a full psychotic break. This is not like just a guy who is psycho in the way we normally think of a serial killer being.
And I think, but it still leaves it open to like, okay, maybe he killed the woman at the ATM.
Maybe.
But the cat thing didn't happen and the car blowing up didn't happen. So it's like, I think it still leaves it somewhat ambiguous to the fact that is he doing these killings and only some of it is so outlandish that it's, that part's happening in his head? Or is it all fake?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the fun of the movie is like
you don't know.
You don't know.
Like, who knows what's happening here? It's fun, though. Like, I don't know. It's the whole movie. It's like the way people talk about him versus the way he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the way you see him is so different. Like, when the lawyer who's calling him Davis is like, Patrick Bateman's such a square. That's hilarious.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Like, he's a little wuss, basically, is what he says, like, to his face. And he's like, what? What?
Yeah.
Like...
That's when he's trying to confess.
Yeah.
At the end there.
And he's just like, I can't.
Yeah.
And the call to the lawyer is one of my favorite parts in the movie, too. He's like, I tried to eat them. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I don't think I can get out of it this time. I think my favorite bit from the trivia is that the whoosh during the business card scene is made by slowing down the sound of a sword being drawn out of the sheath. Because they're all very clearly like measuring their masculinity. Like
it's a dick measuring contest.
It's
not,
and like
and that's
but they're all the same.
They all
except their name.
And they all say vice president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple references to Wall Street.
Yeah.
For one, they both work at the same firm, Price and Price. What is it?
Price and Price.
Price and Price.
Yeah.
And there's this part in Wall Street where he talks about, I have 33 vice presidents. I don't know what any of them do.
Mm-hmm.
Where Gordon Gekko says that. Now that is
a
funny. This would have been. It takes place in '89, so it would have been post Wall Street. Actually, that's who they would have been modeling their behavior after.
Right.
Gordon Gekko from Wall Street.
But I think it just harps on the fact that a lot of things that people focus on and society focuses on is ridiculous.
Well, and I feel like pointedly, like Lewis's when he brings his out is actually different.
Yeah,
his is like a Art Nouveau font.
Mm-hmm.
It's red.
Oh
The font is red and stuff, and that's Bateman really loses it at that. He's what and it's like, oh, okay, but it's because Bateman lost it with Paul Allen because he wants to be that guy. He lost it with Lewis because he wants to be that guy. They're the only two like men he really targets in the whole.
Yeah,
and it's like, I don't know.
In the book, like there is like a hint of that relation, like semi-sexual relationship between Lewis.
Yeah,
and like there is an attraction. To a certain degree that's hinted at. There's a whole like huge article some dude went through and found like every quote from the book that is mildly homoerotic.
Mm-hmm.
And I read a lot of it, and it's like, wow, this is like, it's very blatant once you
Yeah.
kind of read it. Like reading it once, you don't really notice it as much, but
Mhm.
like when it's really pointed out, it's like, wow, that's well. And I mean, and Bret Easton Ellis is also, I mean, he's gay, so it makes
Oh,
sense
okay.
that like some of this would work its way
Into it, yeah.
either subconsciously or consciously into the story, because it's all, I mean, it's all about insecurity, masculine, like just insecurity, and how, just my dad didn't play with me, so now I'm gonna go to Wall Street and
Yeah.
be terrible to everybody and screw over people and buy expensive suits and
Right.
spend $500 on lunch. And listening to some interviews with Ellis, and he basically, like, he had an idea to write a book about Wall Street,
Mm-hmm.
and so he interviewed a lot of these guys and like spent the day with them and everything, and he noticed that they never did any work. All they talked about was where they're going to eat, where they're going to get reservations, who's having sex with who, and
Yeah.
there was no work being done. It was
Right.
the
Appearance of
style and the appearance of success.
I was
Yeah.
like, what would have been like to be this kind of white guy in the 80s? Like, I just go in my office and I watch a show. Like, he like turns on the TV and it's
Yeah.
just like all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
And he and so and after a while he just suddenly realizes, oh, they're serial killers. So he's just like, I'm gonna make it he's gonna be a murderer.
yeah.
That's what these guys are. So it didn't start out. It doesn't seem like as the book that we have or in the movie, the story. It started out more like a straight kind of book about people that work on Wall Street,
Oh, okay.
and then he eventually just turned it into.
I think it worked out for him.
I mean,
I
that
think it
definitely
worked out very well.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie's very controversial. The book especially.
Yeah, I saw that he got death threats
Yeah.
after it was published
Yeah.
over the book.
Oh, I'm sure.
'Cause, I mean, there's.
I mean, that seems extreme, though. Just don't read the book.
Yeah. I mean, any death threats over like a piece of art are just
Right.
Are
absurd.
silly.
Like it's a piece of art. Just don't read it or watch it or do whatever.
Right.
But one of the things I do think is very, like, still makes it very relevant. Like I said, the '80s never ended. Like things have just changed. Like instead of like, what car you drive, what clothes you wear. Now it's
Mhm.
How many followers you got?
exactly,
many
and
subs?
how many subs, how many likes, how many comments.
Right, exactly.
And you can almost, like, if you read some of these like influencer,
Mhm.
their what they say or their posts. Just next time, just read them in Patrick Bateman's voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Find that very funny.
I could see that working. Yeah.
Well, it's because I mean, all of that is parasocial, and that is what he is.
Right.
Yeah,
Patrick Bateman is a person with no person behind
And it's
him.
just put on.
and it's just put on.
yeah. I mean, he's just
And
like,
so like and I'm not saying that they're all psychos. I'm saying that the person that you have to be when everything you are is public
right.
yeah.
is not
Not you.
real. Like
Yeah.
that's not a
He's-
real human.
he's an amalgamation of expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's just like this reality that you want to put out there for other people to see is not, like, it's not real,
No, it can't be like
and all it does is just mask the chaos inside.
yeah, and it's a big defense against like what is expected of you.
Yeah.
I do love little baby Reese Witherspoon in this.
Which, speaking of baby, she was 3 months pregnant.
Yeah, she was
Yep.
pregnant.
She's young.
Mary Herron was pregnant too while making the movie.
Oh, okay.
Director.
And then I also always love seeing William Dafoe in anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, and the thing I read about that was the director was like, had him do each scene like he knew, like he suspected, and like he thought he was totally innocent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they just picked what she wanted, and it
Yeah.
was like,
yeah. He had it.
yeah,
He's only in 3 scenes, and she had him do it. Yeah,
each way.
different ways each time,
Mm-hmm.
which really which really works because that makes you think. Wait, does he know? Yeah. How close? Like how much?
Yeah.
It's.
And
makes
then
it
is it real?
more engaging?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, if he thinks he's guilty, then there must be a reason.
Yeah, because if
Right.
Paul Allen isn't missing, then who is this guy?
Then like, why is this guy here?
Yeah.
but then the
Yeah, you could also almost look at it like Kimball, the detective
Mhm.
or the private investigator, is like his little angel on his shoulder or
Mhm.
something. Like he's like the closer he gets to thinking that he's going to get caught, the more that he starts to suspect.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
Bateman.
But I also like the fact that Belle was just so into it, like being in this movie. It said that he turned down movie roles for like 9 months. I
9 months,
think,
yeah.
just in hopes of getting this role.
Yeah. He prepped for a long time for this. He really wanted it.
Yeah.
I like. I mean, that's what I've always heard about like Christian Bale in general is like he's very passionate about the projects
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's on.
Well,
which
I
is
mean,
nice. Like
when they are, it shows through, and I think we definitely get that in this performance. How much work he put into it,
yeah.
other than just acting that
And
part.
then,
I
yeah,
mean, he
like,
put a lot of
physically getting into that character
Right.
was not easy.
and they put a lot of research into it and stuff. I mean, they even watched videos together to figure out like the threesome scene
Yeah.
and things like
Yeah.
that. And he drew stick figures.
Yeah, stick figure draw, like storyboarding it with
Yeah.
stick figures.
I like also they were like he was the most comfortable we've ever seen someone just have like just being totally nude,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
between cuts and the chainsaw scene. He's just like
I mean, who
standing
wouldn't
around
that-
with like
that-
a sock on. And I was
Yeah,
like,
sure.
This is fine.
Right?
naked?
Like,
Right.
This is
If
fine.
I look like that, I wouldn't care either.
Mary Herron did mention that there was a lot of women on set during the shower scene
Oh,
at
yeah.
the beginning,
There's like
and he was apparently fine with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also so the movie was also written by Guinevere Turner, who actually plays
Elizabeth apparently.
Elizabeth, yeah,
Yeah.
and she's actually who wrote the script.
Oh,
Or
okay.
this version of the script. There's like Bret Easton Ellis wrote a draft. Apparently, David Cronenberg didn't want any violence in the movie, and he wanted to shoot it in black and white.
Oh, wow.
Which is, and I kind of want to see that movie.
Yeah, I was going to say the black and white could be interesting.
Yeah,
The lack of violence could be odd. Though.
yeah. Or I mean, I don't know. I would have been interested to see that, but Bret Easton Ellis wrote a script for him. Cronenberg hated it because it wasn't what he asked for. So he went in and hired his own director, and that fell apart.
Yeah.
But she wrote the movie, and she is very openly, gay. Has been,
Mhm.
and so it's just the perfect storm of people. They got to make the movie that properly get what the movie's
What they
about.
Exactly.
That is because I mean, if you get like a Michael Bay kind of guy, this is going to be just like it's just torture porn. It's
Mhm.
not gonna. There's no subtext.
Right.
So you got people that really got the book and knew how to make it work on screen in a way that honored the book, but was also like slightly critical of the book as well.
Yeah.
It really works.
Now knowing that, like, it makes her like that scene a little more endearing because he's like, you've been with a woman before, right? And she's like, no, never.
Yeah.
And then smash cut to like
Yeah.
the girls, and
Well,
it's like,
Well, there was a thing about the fact that he when she says, "Why would you suggest that?"
She went to
She went to Sarah Lawrence College, and the lady playing
Guinevere
Elizabeth,
Turner did
Yeah.
go to Sarah
she
Lawrence.
did go to
Go to
there
Sarah
and
Lawrence,
is gay. So
okay, it was a little-
definitely funny. I
Yeah.
always enjoy when there's some good trivia that we can read here.
Yeah, there's a lot of good.
There's a lot of behind the scenes, and that's what I like to read about. And just little parts like that just show
There's
how much went into this film
A lot
and
of
how
thought.
why they
I
were
mean,
able
there's
to
even like
capture
a
it.
reference to like Newsies, which was one of Bale's first movies.
Mhm.
And a lyric from Newsies shows up somewhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, and like one of my favorites is Bateman excuses himself from a conversation by claiming he has an appointment with Cliff Huxtable.
But yeah.
That's a great one in the movie. It's like
I
nobody
might-
gets it. Everyone is just clueless in
Right.
the 80s. No one
No.
understands any reference to anything, whether pop culture or historical or
nothing.
anything beyond just clothes and food.
I do love every time he really panics. That's no excuse. I have to go return some videotapes.
Oh yeah,
like
No,
every
no, yeah.
time, and it's so
That's-
good.
that's something that I use regularly in my life.
Like I need out of this situation. I can't think of a good option. I need to go return some videotapes.
Yeah, it's
Take it away.
I love that. There's just so many little quotable moments from the movie. He sees who's wearing what and wants to mimic that or what people are eating, how to get ahead in society. The same thing is true of what he watches as well. Like I mentioned, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
Aside from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he just watches porn,
Right.
Yeah.
and so like that's his only
He watches horror movies and porn.
understanding of violence or sex.
Right.
Right.
There's no in between. It's the extreme of both.
Mm-hmm. And I think
I think that's I think that
We're
there's
in the 80s, like the Texas Chains, those slashers have just started.
Right.
Basically, you know.
well, this is '89, so they're coming to
Obviously,
their end.
yeah.
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 and I obviously read a lot and watch a lot about serial killers and things like that, and that is something. It's like a hyperfixation, hyperfixation that he has and is mimicking,
Yeah.
whether it's real or not. What he's doing, he's mimicking that. Horror and porn.
Horror and porn.
I mean, that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, and I've been watching a lot of Criminal Minds lately. And so like the overlap there for serial killers is a lot of times like serial killing is an erotic thing.
For sure.
Oh yeah,
not
yeah.
like a-
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
so it's like this conflation of obviously he does not, because we are assuming in the book definitely more explicitly in the thing that he is not actually that attracted to women, so his response to not being as into it is then to murder them as
Yeah.
like, because it's obviously their fault that I like this.
Right.
That I can't get it up. It's their fault.
Their fault.
And
And that's a really common reason.
Oh yeah.
Right.
become
Oh
serial
yeah. I mean,
killers.
and
impotence is basically is one of the reasons a lot of people end up become serial killers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
They can't accept it that maybe they are gay or they
Right.
aren't.
They are gay, or they're older, or
Yeah.
you know.
yeah, it's a manhood thing.
Yeah.
But then scenes like that is exactly why at the beginning I was saying, sex scenes and unneeded nudity I'm not a fan of, but these scenes are needed. It dives into that part of someone's brain
Without
that
those,
would
you
be
don't
like that.
You don't understand
Right.
why Patrick Bateman is the way. Like you can't start to piece together
Exactly.
why he's broken. Like
Yeah.
what has happened to this man.
And in unrelated news, Whitney Houston refused to let any of her songs be on this film.
Which
I just found that as a neat little tidbit.
yeah, and they use just an instrumental version during like the Whitney Houston. I think it's during when Gene comes over.
Yeah.
Which actually works better than if it was just the song.
I thought I recognized it, but I didn't.
Yeah, I forget which song it is, but
okay.
they couldn't clear the rights to that, and that was
because she refused.
She refused.
Yeah, she didn't want her voice.
That was the most expensive part of the movie was the soundtrack, like just buying the rights to all the songs.
Well, yeah, I think overall, I really liked it, and like I said, I think it's something that if you don't get into, as long as you understand the movie, I was able to understand what was going on and the writing. I think as long as you understand it, if you don't get into it at first, definitely watch it a second time. I think it deserves and requires that.
Yes.
There is a lot going on, and especially if you haven't read the book and you're just jumping into the movie like I did, you don't have an outlook on what's going on, and just with everything going on, it can be a lot. But I mean, other than that, and like I said, I'm going to rewatch it once I do the book. But other than that, I'd give it 2 thumbs up.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's definite.
I already knew that was happening. Like
Yeah.
It's definite 2 thumbs.
Yeah.
2 thumbs.
a 6 thumb.
Whole total of 6
thumbs.
thumbs.
All the
Six thumbs.
thumbs
Not
that we
6
currently
thumbs.
have.
6 thumbs.
Oh wait, I got
I
a couple
said
in my
thumb.
pocket.
Yeah,
I got an extra thumb.
I actually,
8.5 thumbs.
I actually brought some extras today.
The other one was squirming around, so it didn't come off right. So yeah, I'm really glad you liked it. I was hoping you would like it. I was pretty sure you were gonna like it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it
I'm
makes me
definitely
happy.
going to get that
I was
Audible.
hopeful. I don't know what we were gonna do if he didn't like it though, because I didn't know how to react to that.
Oh yeah,
Like, if you came in and didn't like this movie, I was gonna be like, did you watch it?
yeah.
So I guess that'll cover American Psycho.
Yeah, so I
And-
guess we'll pick.
Don't forget to join us on April 28th for the Book and Movie Club.
Oh,
American
yeah.
Psycho, where we're going to watch the movie.
Won't you
You draw.
you
I'll
get
draw?
us one out of
Okay.
the fancy machine there?
All right, here we
I
go.
drew last time, so I don't know.
The Fall.
Oh, again. Okay, well, we can actually watch it this
We can
time.
watch it this time because now
The
we have the Blu-ray.
Fall.
Yeah, it's the Tarzan film.
The Tarzan film.
I don't know what that means.
He's the director.
It's
Oh, okay.
He also made a great serial killer movie called The Cell.
Mm-hmm. And they're
Isn't
not.
that with like Jennifer Lopez?
Yeah, and Vince Vaughn and
Okay.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Never
Great
seen
movie.
it, but
Yeah.
I
So
should.
The Fall. This is not the Tightrope movie. The Fall. This is the Tarzan film.
And it's not The Fall Guy.
It's not the Fall Guy.
okay.
It's just The Fall. And I don't know. This
I know
one,
about the other two.
I
I don't know about this
honestly
one.
don't know if I could tell you that this is going to be great and that you guys are going to love it, but this one is one of those in the early days of appreciating movies
Mm-hmm.
for me. The Fall, it's just really, really beautiful.
Is it anime?
No,
No, it's not
Okay.
anime. It's a
it's
it's
a
a live action.
live action. It's
Have you seen it?
A long time ago.
Okay.
It's, I guess, movie's like 20 years old, so it's probably been about 20 years.
Okay.
long story
It's
short.
been a minute.
It is a movie. It takes place in two places. It yo-yos between a hospital
Mm-hmm.
and a imaginary world and this story that's being told to this little girl.
No.
And it is very, very. I know that it does not sound like you're going to like it, but just watch it.
Why did I make a
What-
noise that made it
You
sound like
did.
that?
Well, we're swinging from one to where I'm 99% sure he's going to like it to the other way, where it's like,
Is this like fantasy?
No, well, kind of,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
not really. But kind of and kind of not. The main character is a injured stuntman, and a 9-year-old Spanish girl who's being kept at this like hospital. It's visually stunning.
yeah, it's a
Okay.
I
beautiful
think
movie.
that's what really sold it to me. Like early days of like starting to like get into watching like understanding what makes a movie
Cinema.
art. Make it cinema
Cinema.
is like this is a feast for your eyeballs.
Okay.
And I really like it.
So I guess join us next time
I'll watch it.
and watch. It's always best to watch these movies before you join us. We do obviously talk about the movie, so there's always spoilers.
Yeah.
So if you start listening and there's spoilers, that's on you. But so watch the movie and join us next time. It's The Fall.
Wonderful.
And until then, I'm Aaron,
I'm Josh.
I'm Toby.
and this has been The Real Opposites.